So I'm going to read a little bit of this book here, The Greatest American Speeches. It was my sister's. I left it off here, which is Patrick Henry. It says, "Give me liberty or give me death." Speech to the Second Virginia Convention, 23rd of March, 1775. There's a picture there. So it gives some information about the person, and then the time when the speech was given, and then the speech itself. So, born 29th of May, 1736, in Studley, Virginia, with his outstanding oratorical, intellectual, and legal skills, Patrick Henry was a leading figure in the struggle for self-government. In 1775, his fiery speech in St. John's Church, Richmond, persuaded the deeply divided Virginia Convention to equip the militia and defend themselves against advancing British forces. The speech guaranteed Henry a place in history as one of the great proponents of liberty. Two counties are named after him in Alabama and Tennessee. Died 6th of June, 1799, in Red Hill Plantation, Virginia. In the late 18th century, British colonies in North America faced taxes levied by the British government to pay for the British Army resident in America. And I get some tea really quick. The colonists fiercely resisted this, on the grounds that they should not be taxed by a parliament in which they were not represented. In 1773, the famous Boston Tea Party protest was crushed by the British, kindling further rebellion and leading to the Revolutionary War, 1776 through 83. The Liberty Speech by Patrick Henry, gave in 1775, marked the start of a revolt against the British in Virginia. The man who was later to be called the voice of the Revolution was taught at home by his well-educated Scots father, who gave him a grounding in the classics. After trying unsuccessfully to earn a living as a storekeeper and a farmer, Henry decided to study law in order to provide for his growing family. His talent quickly became apparent, and he was admitted to the bar at the age of 24, building a thriving criminal law practice. Henry's remarkable oratory and his willingness to risk charges of treachery towards Britain first brought him to public attention in the Parsons Cause trial, 1763. This trial centered on whether the price of tobacco, which formed the wages of clergymen, should be regulated by the colonial government or the British king. In his eloquent defense, Henry cited the doctrine of natural rights, a political theory arguing that humans have certain indisputable rights at birth. He won the case, much to the dismay of the British government. Following the 1775 Liberty Speech, for which he is best known, Henry became wartime governor of Virginia. He played a prominent role in the 1776 convention and was the first governor of the Commonwealth under its new constitution. He was, however, a strong anti-federalist opponent of the United States Constitution and worked for the adoption of the Bill of Rights to ensure the protection of fundamental personal liberties. Henry served in public office in Virginia for nearly 30 years, having been persuaded by George Washington to stand for the state legislature in 1799. He gave his last speech at 63, a few months before his death, when, ailing and bent with age, he made a patriotic appeal for unity to preserve the young American Republic. So, this will be the speech. Mr. President, it is natural to man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not, the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging of the future but by the past, and judging by the past, I wish to know that there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years to justify those hopes with which gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves and the House. Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received? Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with those warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land. Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. These are the implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array, if its purpose be not to force us to submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world, to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? No, sir, she has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the British ministry have been so long forging. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. And what have we to oppose them? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held the subject up in every light of which it is capable, but it has been all in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not been already exhausted? Let us not, I beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon, until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left us. Why stand we here idle? They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed, and when a British guard shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hands and feet? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means which God of nature hath placed in our power. the millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations, and who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it. Almighty God, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. So that was the one from, what was his name? Patrick Henry. And then the second I'm going to read is Benjamin Franklin. There's a picture of him there. I agree to this Constitution for all its faults. Speech at the Constitutional Convention, Pennsylvania, 17th of September, 1787. Born 17th of January, 1706 in Boston, Massachusetts, at the end of a life filled with accomplishments in business, science, journalism, diplomacy, civic service, and political reform, Benjamin Franklin continued to steer the course of American history. Aged 81 and too weak to deliver it himself, Franklin contributed this speech on the last day of the convention on the wording of the new Constitution. Franklin emphasized that the compromise was necessary for the greater good. He asked each member who, like himself, might not completely approve of the Constitution to doubt a little of his own infallibility and to sign the document. His motion was carried. Died 17th of April, 1790, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 ended the War of Independence between Britain and 13 American colonies, which were then established as independent states. One of the signatories was Benjamin Franklin, the only founding father of America to sign the other two major documents that created the United States, the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. In his early life, Benjamin Franklin was a great admirer of Britain's cultural and literary heritage, and was a respected guest in British social circles. However, he realized that King George III would never willingly cede enough power to the colonies, and so, aged 70, Franklin became a radical advocate for American independence. It was his skilled negotiations with France in 1776 that gained America crucial French support in the War of Independence. At the end of the war, Franklin returned to America, where he campaigned for the abolition of slavery and was 3 times elected president of Pennsylvania's Executive Council. In Pennsylvania, Franklin established the city library, police and fire services, and an academy that later became a university. He was also involved in the postal services, increasing their efficiency and solvency. In the summer of 1787, although retired, Franklin was sent as a Pennsylvanian delegate to the Constitutional Convention, where he attended daily sessions. Although he failed to impose his own preference for an executive committee rather than a president to lead the state, Franklin put aside his objections and urged his colleagues to do likewise. The Constitution was agreed. Benjamin Franklin was the 15th child of a candle and soap maker. He grew up in a humble but pious Protestant household, received a little formal education, and apprenticed to one of his brothers as a printer at the age of 10. He educated himself as a writer and scientist, and became a successful businessman, publishing the Pennsylvania Gazette and the annual Poor Richard's Almanac, a popular collection of wit and wisdom. He was also an inventor, devising the fuel-saving Franklin stove, the lightning conductor, and bifocal glasses. His contribution to the understanding of electricity was internationally acknowledged. A national hero and outstanding statesman, Franklin died at the age of 84. His funeral was attended by 20,000 people. In his will, he left the cities of Boston and Philadelphia money in trust for 200 years. The trusts amounted to $7 million when they ended in 1990 and financed major educational projects in both cities. Here's the speech. I confess that there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not at present approve, but I am not sure I shall never approve them, for having lived long, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change opinions, even on important subjects, which I once thought right, but found to be otherwise. It is therefore that the older I grow, the more apt I am to doubt my own judgment, and to pay more respect to the judgment of others. Most men, indeed, as well as most sects in religion, think themselves in possession of all truth, and that wherever others differ from them, it is so far error. Steele, a Protestant, in a dedication tells the Pope that the only difference between our churches is their opinions of the certainty of their doctrines. The Church of Rome is infallible, and the Church of England is never in the wrong. But though many private persons think almost as highly of their own infallibility as of that of their sects, few express it so naturally as a certain French lady, who in a dispute with her sister said, "I don't know how it happens, sister, but I meet with nobody but myself. That's always in the right." That's in French. I don't know how to say that. I consent, sir, to this Constitution because I expect to know better, and because I'm not sure that it is not the best. In these sentiments, sir, I agree to this Constitution with all its faults, if they are such, because I think a general government is necessary for us, and there is no form of government but what may be a blessing to the people, if well administered. And believe farther that this is likely to be well administered for a course of years, and can only end in despotism, as other forms have done before it. When the people shall become so corrupted as to need despotic government, being incapable of any other, I doubt too whether any other convention we can obtain may be able to make a better constitution. For when you assemble a number of men to have the advantage of their joint wisdom, you inevitably assemble with those men all their prejudices, their passions, their errors of opinion, their local interests, and their selfish views. From such an assembly can a perfect production be expected. It therefore astonishes me, sir, to find this system approaching so near to perfection as it does, and I think it will astonish our enemies, who are waiting with confidence to hear that our counsels are confounded, like those of the builders of Babel, and that our states are on the point of separation, only to meet hereafter for the purpose of cutting one another's throats. Thus I consent, sir, to this Constitution, because I expect no better, and because I am not sure that it is not the best. The opinions I have had of its errors I sacrifice to the public good. I have never whispered a syllable of them abroad. Within these walls they were born, and here they shall die. If every one of us is returning to our constituents were to report the objections he has had to it, and endeavour to gain partisans in support of them, we might prevent its being generally received, and thereby lose all the salutary effects and great advantages resulting naturally in our favour among foreign nations, as well as among ourselves, from our real and apparent unanimity. Much of the strength and efficiency of any government in procuring and securing happiness to the people depends on opinion, on the general opinion of the goodness of the government, as well as the wisdom and integrity of its governors. I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of the convention who may still have objections to it would with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility. I hope, therefore, that for our own sakes, as a part of the people, and for the sake of posterity, we shall act heartily and unanimously in recommending this Constitution, if approved by Congress and confirmed by the conventions wherever our influence may extend, and turn our future thoughts and endeavours to the means of having it well administered. On the whole, sir, I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of this convention, who may still have objections to it, would with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility, and to make manifest our unanimity, put his name to this instrument. That's all I'll read today. The next one would be George Washington. But hold on. I'm gonna get a new sticker to mark the page. It's giving me trouble. Okay. Got it. No, I don't got it. What's wrong with you? Okay. Yeah. So that was some of the greatest American speeches. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, thank you for watching my videos, and